Protecting people with epilepsy doesn't need to look like this. If you learn this. Learn time, safe, stay this International Epilepsy Day.
You don't know who I am? Hello, my name is Rick O'Shea. I'm a broadcaster with RTE, and for my sins, I have been patron of Epilepsy Ireland for the last 16 years now, I think. 2006, I think it's 2006, and every year it just gets to be a stranger and stranger number. I have had epilepsy myself since I was 16. 12 years seizure-free this year, yeah. Continue to touch wood. It's just the medication. The medication is all nicely balanced and everything works for me quite well. I was shown very early versions of this ad campaign, and I've been around for a few of these over the years. And this is probably the one that I saw that I most looked at and went, this nails what we've been trying to do for a long time. One of the reasons that I became involved as a patron was simply to get word out about what epilepsy is, about what people are like who have epilepsy, like all of us in this room, or most of us in this room, and about the sort of things you should do if you encounter somebody who's having a seizure. It's been a long old road. It's been, because back in 2006, and Peter will vouch for this as well, public awareness of epilepsy was at a different level than it is now. It was very much in the should I put a wooden spoon in your mouth phase, which, don't get me wrong, still does exist, and I still have those conversations with people. But I like to think that slowly, through campaigns like this over the course of the years, that has been nudged and nudged and nudged towards people having a greater awareness of what this is all about. I saw the early version of this. I just thought they were absolutely fantastic because of two things. They have a sense of humor, and they also illustrate to you exactly as to what we're trying to do with a campaign like this. Really briefly, I got some stats that the guys just wanted me to let you know about before we have our conversation here. It's built on the Time Safe Stay message from last year, trying to make it as recognizable to the public as the kind of things that they do with stroke, the FAST ad campaigns that have been done for that, and the Staying Alive one that's been done for heart. We all, you know it because you've seen the ad campaigns, and they're utterly recognizable. The intention for the campaign was to be tongue-in-cheek and an exaggerated look at how people with epilepsy might be treated differently due to their condition, and how the public might respond to seizures as well. Across all channels, 2.5 million impressions of everything that was done here. I know that can slightly sound like a nonsense number, but believe me, I've been involved in these things for lots of different things across the years, and for 2.5 million eyes to have been on one or another version of these is genuinely huge. One video on Facebook alone had 250,000 views. I do interviews online, and I've done a load of them since the beginning of COVID, and loads of the likes of me have all ended up doing stuff online. The video I've done with a globally famous author that has the biggest coverage, I got 5,000 people to see that, and I was thrilled with myself. One of these videos has 250,000 views online. That is genuinely huge. That doesn't count, obviously, mentions in media. It doesn't count the sort of things where this has been dealt with in online news outlets. Irish Times, Drive Time Today FM, Spotify, Irish Examiner, RT News Today, local stations, publications, they're all places where the Time Safe Stay message appeared this year alongside either images or these videos that you saw here. We couldn't have done any of this without the people that you see right here, because let's be, in previous times there have been professional actors have been brought in. This is one of the first campaigns in which we've actually had volunteers agree to do this. And can you imagine being one of the volunteers here where you've said, I'd like to help with awareness, I would like to be part of the campaign, and you're asked, how do you feel about being in a giant bubble? Or how do you, and maybe that's the first question. So I'm going to introduce our people that we have here in front of us. Immediately close to me is, I hope you don't mind me calling you Bubble Girl, is Lucy. Lucy is in her mid-20s. She lives in Dublin. She was diagnosed with epilepsy when she was 13. The stress of studying in school affected her epilepsy, and her memory and concentration suffered, with medication being added to that. I was 16. I was one of those soldiers too. Next to her is Lisa, who is in the bubble wrap. Lisa lives in Dublin. She is a busy mum to 4 children. She was diagnosed when she was 18. She has been on a roller coaster journey in managing her condition. Thankfully, the last few years have seen an improvement in her seizure activity. And at the very end, Wayne, our knight, Sir Wayne of Wexford, who is almost 30, diagnosed with epilepsy when he was 23. He's had successful surgery and recently celebrated being a year seizure-free. Fantastic. He was also involved in the 2021 IED campaign as well. So I have a load of questions here, but I'm going to start just by asking things of you that I'm interested in. So for all of you, when you were given that first role, when somebody either said to you, how do you feel about a suit of armour, or how do you feel about being wrapped up in bubble wrap, what was your initial first reaction when you were asked to do the role that you were asked to do? Maybe, Lucy, I'll start with you.
It was crazy. I remember getting, I think it was an email, and yeah, I just said, why not? I mean, I've been in contact with Epilepsy Ireland before. I've done projects with them before. They're an amazing organisation at that. So, yeah, to be honest, I was all for it. I mean, why not? If I can make a statement this strong and really just put the word out, I knew it was going to make some sort of impact. If it was going to make an impact as strong as possible, then yeah. Absolutely. Did you not have a moment of thinking, giant bubble, this is going to be stuck with me for the rest of my life? I mean, most of us would go, hang on a second here. There was a little bit of that, not going to lie. Yeah, there was, I took a step back and I was just like, hang on a moment. But then I was, if this is going to make a statement, I might as well. Yeah. Lisa, yours is my favourite of all three. To be honest with you, if they'd asked me to do any of them, I would have been stick me in bubble wrap. So how did you feel when you initially got that first conversation of giant ball of bubble wrap?
Well, I'll be, first of all, excuse my voice. I left half of it at home just to keep giving out to the kids. I initially wasn't actually told exactly what my role was going to be.
Okay.
I blame Paddy for that, just to put it out there. No, look, like Lucy, whatever you can do to make the public aware of a fantastic campaign. It was a brilliant campaign, and I knew when I was told what the campaign was going to be, I said, no, whatever it takes, I don't care. Most people who know me know I'm not really shy, and whatever it takes, I'm up for a laugh, and, you had to kind of be up for a laugh to wear what I had to wear.
So hang on, well, before we go any further here, so you weren't told in the initial email. At what point did you find out, did you just rock up on the day and they went, there's your suit?
They actually said to me, you'll probably be wrapped in kind of bubble wrap. They said I'd be wrapped in bubble wrap. They didn't actually say that there's a whole actual suit that you will be wearing. And actually it was quite comfortable. I was really warm at the front. However, at the back, it was kind of like a hospital gown, so it was kind of drafty at the back. Okay. But no, it's all about the campaign, and it was fantastic to do it. And no, I didn't mind getting geared up and whatever. We had a laugh on the day, and as we said, it was all about getting the word out there, and look, it was a bubble wrap soup, and I shouldn't really say, but my sister wrapped she moved house the next day, so I got to take the suit home, and she wrapped all her herself in the bubble wrap afterwards.
I'm all for recycling. That's fantastic. That's great.
So it was recycled.
And Wayne, I don't know. I've always had one of those things where I've always liked the idea of getting up in a knight suit and having a big sword, and what happened? At what stage did you find out I'm going to be a knight?
When I got asked to measure myself size-wise and send it back. Will I fit into this? I wasn't told exactly what it was or anything. Just, will you measure this part of your body, your head, and let me know? I was like, yeah, grand.
Did that not feel a bit weird? That would seem a bit strange.
It did, yeah. I was like, what's this for? I was like, is this for the campaign, Paddy?
There's a strand running through here, which is Paddy sending you strange emails going, tell me a bit about your measurements.
Yeah, that's more or less how it went down. I'm willing to kind of take part and put myself forward, and anything I can do, Everyone here has been by my side every step of the way, so I'll do what I can do. So I wasn't going to say no anyway. It was simply a case of Paddy letting me know and then saying, okay, measure yourself, please.
Yeah. That still sounds weird. Tell me, for all of you, so you were obviously up for the idea of becoming involved in a campaign that helped spread awareness. Did any of you have any kind of reservations about putting yourselves out there? Because certainly I know over all of the years that I've been involved, I've had conversations with a lot of people who would like to do something, but who have felt that maybe they don't necessarily want to be the face of something, or they don't necessarily want everybody to know that they have epilepsy. Did any of you have any reservations in advance of going into this where you maybe thought, I'm not 100% sure about that? Lucy?
No, not at all. I mean, whenever anybody asks me, am I stepping over the line asking about your epilepsy? I'm like, no, just go ahead, ask away. I've no problem, and just, people can be very, very, they feel like they're asking too much, or, I've had surgery, for example, that was unsuccessful at that, and then, they feel like they're just asking too much, and I'm literally like, ask away. I really do not care. I can be a very, maybe it seems like I'm, overly too forward, kind of, I just don't care. At the end of the day, I'm over-explaining this. I just do not care. Ask. I just don't care.
And Lisa, we've only met for the first time this morning. I immediately presume you had absolutely no problems.
No, absolutely none. I've been, excuse me, at the very beginning, I suppose, when I was diagnosed initially, that was when I first I really didn't, I suppose I didn't understand the condition because I was so young and it came out of the blue. I didn't know very much about it. But now I'm an absolute open book. I tell people, I have epilepsy, and when I wasn't driving, as you mentioned, I have 4 children. They have football, they had dancing, they had this, they had that. I needed people to help me with lifts, and I mean, I've a very supportive husband, obviously. I have a fantastic support network in my parents, my sister and her husband and that. So they were great in lifts, but I had to go and ask strangers, other people, listen, I can't drive at the moment, so I have epilepsy. And they'd be saying, you have epilepsy? And I'd say, yeah, and I'd tell them all about it. But I never, ever hid or have ever hidden my epilepsy from anybody. And any job I ever went to, I've always told them, this is what I have, this is how it affects me. If it happens, this is what you do. And because it's so important. I mean, you just, I think people are afraid. There is still a stigma there, and I think people are afraid to kind of, ask you about it because, it's epilepsy, you can't talk about that. But, you do really want to get that message out there, and I think that's why the campaign was so important, to let people know it is okay to talk about this. It's the same as if you have, God forbid, but you have cancer, or if you have, I don't know, any other condition that people might have, it's just one of those things, and it's part of your life, and it's going to be part of my life for the rest of my life, and you have to talk about it,
Wayne, any reservations before this?
To be honest with you, if it had been 5 years ago, I probably would have been like, I don't think I could do that, not yet, not ready, only kind of adapting and getting used to what life is actually like with everything taken away from you. So if I had been kind of 2014, 15, I probably would have been like, maybe not. But kind of, you do have to then adapt to the level of, okay, I can sit and I can hide in a hole here and not be open about it. But it's not going to get you anywhere, It's not going to help other people that may be in the same situation and are also afraid to be open about it, At least if I know I'm willing to put myself forward, I'm willing to be asked any questions or answer any questions that I could help with. If I can't help with, I'll try my best and I'll give you what I think I would do, or if I don't think I could help, I would just be open and tell you that as well. But it is a case of, if I hadn't have been for a right reason at the right time, I probably wouldn't have said yes. But it is for awareness, for the proper, there isn't much that is out in the public or out online or anywhere to be seen really that you do for helping people with epilepsy. You know, until this, you'd have to go and research it or look for videos, specific videos, and there's not a whole lot that is going to show you a whole lot. Essentially, it's going to show you a seizure, and most of those videos then aren't going to give you the information or what's needed to help after that either. So kind of with this, it is a case of, okay, there's different ways of looking at it. Like, i.e., you don't have to be wrapped in a bubble wrap. You don't have to be wrapped, and you don't have to be in a suit of armour. You can live life without those and still be okay, perfectly fine. You know, that is just a stigma that unfortunately is related alongside things that doesn't need to be there anymore. You know, so...
For all three of you, you seem to me as if you're the sort of people that obviously not only were happy to become involved in something big like this, but that you do have conversations on a regular basis with people who do just want to know a little bit more in your real lives. What sort of maybe misconceptions have people come to you with that you've kind of had to go, actually, no? Lucy?
Of course, there's the photosensitive. Like back when I was younger, go like out to discos and everything, and concerts, and I mean, I still do, of course, like the concerts and everything. But you know,
I used to DJ in clubs, got exactly the same thing every time I went in, and anybody knew about it. They go, "Will I leave the strobe off?" And I'm like, "No, I'm okay. I'm not photosensitive." Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah, people would immediately be like, "Oh wait, no, you can't come along, can you?" And be all like, I have epilepsy, but it's not photosensitive. I'd be fine wearing the flashing lights and everything. And then to this day now, I've made a joke out of it, and people are taken aback, and they're just like, and that's, I kind of make a playful way out of, that's how I have epilepsy, or that is my, so it's just like, it's somewhat of a laughable way of telling people I have epilepsy at that too, and that can kind of ease a tense conversation and everything as well. But, it's definitely, there are so many stigmas and everything, and there could be so many better ways of going about telling people, and it's difficult at first to tell people, but there are better ways, and I think that's pretty much.
No, that's a big one, and that is genuinely a huge one, and one of the conversations I've had most often with people.
That's it.
Lisa, what sort of kind of misconceptions have people come up
Similar
to?
Similar to Lucy, and it was addressed in the last campaign that Epilepsy Ireland did as well. The spoon in the mouth.
Oh, that's
a huge one. People to say when you talk about epilepsy, they say, "Oh yeah, don't you put something in their mouth?" And you nearly feel like shaking them. No, don't put anything in their mouth, because it's massive that people still think that you put, oh no, you don't put a spoon, it's in a pen, isn't it? Isn't that? And you're like, no, put nothing in their mouth.
I will have a mouthful of ink when you're finished.
Oh, seriously, yeah.
Stop.
Like, put a big pen in their mouth. Yeah, good one. Yeah, full of plastic. Like, but no, it's still a huge thing that. It's one of the first things that people, not one of the first things, I mean, and it's not an ignorant thing, because that's how people spoke about epilepsy way back. It was, flashing lights was one thing, and then, you have to put a spoon in their mouth because that stops them from swallowing their tongue. And you're saying to them, no, it's actually a physical impossibility to actually swallow your tongue. You might choke on maybe a vomit or something like that, but, turn the person onto their side and stay with them, and, protect their head, the time safe stay, that's the message that you're trying to get out to them.
I've had, and I don't know if any of you have, the fingers conversation, where I've had people say to me, "Oh, you might swallow your tongue. Should I put my fingers in your mouth?"
Yeah, if you don't want your fingers.
Yeah. If you'd like to end up with fewer fingers, knock yourself out, because that's all that's going to happen in that situation. And people found that. I know, and this is a conversation that still happens, which is astonishing. Wayne, what sort of conversations have people had with you?
Surprisingly, it hasn't been a case of, hasn't been many people trying to guide on or giving wrong things, or like, oh, we'll turn off those flashing lights there. Surprisingly, it hasn't been like that with myself. There's a couple of little things that I've had to do along the way. Like, obviously, I continued to play football up until last year, and obviously that was a little hit and miss at the start. Obviously, playing football, the chance of possibly having a seizure at any time as well. So, like, after having a seizure, obviously limiting the time, I can't go back and go training the next day or play a match the next day. But I would slowly get back into it, and then it's a case of kind of getting myself back into the team where they'd be confident enough that it's actually not going to happen, and they don't need to do anything to be on the extra safe side to keep me safe, because I'm out on a football pitch anyway. If I were to have a seizure, I'm going to have a seizure whether I'm sitting in my home, whether I'm wearing nothing, whether I'm out playing football. You know, the scenario doesn't really change with myself on that front. So surprisingly, I haven't had that many people kind of make me feel in a bad way by trying to, like, you know, oh, there's Wayne, we'll change these things. Surprisingly, it hasn't been like that. But there has been little alterations and stuff along the way, like that with football. Obviously, getting back in, the lads were like, oh, we don't want you kind of getting straight back into hardcore training. Like, I was like, I'm grand, lads. You know, I was fine 10 minutes after that seizure I had 2 weeks ago, you know? And it is just then slowly kind of for the confident to be like, that doesn't have to be associated with that, you know? I'm okay now. It's a different day, you know? Like, some seizures you'd be broke up for and wrecked for a couple of days after it. Some of them you'd wake up 5 minutes later and you're brand new, you know? So it was a case then of, look, lads, I am the same person I was 3 weeks ago before I ever had a seizure, you know, so treat me as the same. And it did get back into that, and surprisingly, the people that I'd spend my time with took it on the chin and don't treat me any other way.
For all three of you, obviously not everybody gets the chance to be involved in a national ad campaign and get your own bubble wrap suit to take home with you. But there are a lot of people, maybe in this room, maybe who will watch this later on, who would like to be a kind of positive advocate for their own epilepsy out there in the world, and would like to do the kind of job that you guys have done as part of this ad campaign. Do you have any advice for them just going about it in the world on a regular and on a daily basis? Lucy?
Spread the word, you know, either anonymously or however you want to. Whether, I mean, yeah, online or in person, like if you're to bump into someone and, you know, once again, they feel uncomfortable talking about it and you want to make it as comfortable a situation as possible. And online, if somebody were to bring it up and you were to then bring it up in the comments, in either, yeah, a video or a photo, or, you know, once again, through Epilepsy Ireland, you know, or if you have an epilepsy support page yourself that you've been putting up, you know, either on Instagram, Facebook, this, that, the other, you know, you can really just make a wide word out of it yourself. And it's a good way to spread a word, starting your own, you know, vlogs or blogs. You know, you can spread the word any way possible. Yeah, really.
Well, for me, I just say to anybody, just go for it. Just if you want to spread the word, you know, there's endless opportunities. As Lucy said, you know, the social media platform now is just so massive at this stage. The way to reach people is, well, certainly for the younger generation now. I'm a little bit older than Lucy. You very kindly didn't call out my age, but maybe that's because I'm closer to you in age than anybody else.
No comment.
But anyway, yeah. So I think that definitely for the younger people, I think it's very important to get the word out on the social media platforms. You know, get it out on Instagram, get it out. Facebook isn't really for the young people these days, just to let you all know. It's only us oldies that do it. But Snapchat and Instagram is a huge platform, and TikTok for the younger generation. And I think that's a generation that needs to kind of know what epilepsy is and how to deal with it. My children are now, they know all about epilepsy. They know, they tell their friends, oh yeah, my mom has epilepsy. And they'd say, your mom, what's that all about? And they tell them, and I encourage them to tell their friends, to tell them what it's about, to tell them how to deal with it. Because if they don't spread the word, if they don't know what to do, then how will they treat somebody if they come across somebody on the ground, or, you know, somebody who's just after, or maybe somebody who's having an aura, or who's somebody who's, you know, just in that situation at the moment. They don't know how to deal with them. So it's important, if you want to get the word out, go to Epilepsy Ireland. I can't say enough about Epilepsy Ireland. They were fantastic to my mum when I was diagnosed, when I didn't even know that they were fantastic to my mum. She spent 45 minutes on the phone to them way back in the day when I was 18. I never even knew. So they are a brilliant group. I don't need to tell everybody here who they are and how good they are. But if you know other people who are suffering with epilepsy, and I mean suffering in a very, I don't mean suffering, but you know, who aren't free to, who don't feel free to talk about their epilepsy, try to encourage them to be more open about it, because there is no stigma. We want to break the stigma now of epilepsy, because, you know, we need to get people out there and spread the word really at this stage.
I hate that you've made me do the maths in my head, and my parents got in contact with Epilepsy Ireland 33 years ago, when it was still Brainwave back in the day. Yeah. 33 years ago.
Yeah, well...
Thanks for that. Cheers, appreciate that. That's done me.
I just said, you know...
I'd agree with this, with the social media stuff hugely if you can. Sometimes, though, it is a person-to-person-to-person job, where you just end up having conversations with people who mention it, or who ask you a little something about yourself, or who... I know when it's come to me, okay, maybe I'm in a very different situation, both doing the job that I do and having been the patron for the last 16 years. People are aware that I have epilepsy, so I get emails on a regular basis from people perhaps whose kids have just had a first seizure. And again, I suppose I do the same thing you guys do, which is tell them, as you know, the little bit that I do know, and then point them in the direction of Epilepsy Ireland and say, these are the guys you really should be talking to. Wayne, I know you walk around Wexford Town in the night suit. I think that's a much bigger deal than the rest
of the day as well.
Yeah. and obviously that makes people go, what? And therefore, tell me a little bit about, do you have any advice for people who might be in the same situation and might be considering just even their own little form of advocacy?
See, to be honest, when I did have my first seizure, I didn't know anybody with epilepsy. There wasn't one person I knew that I could ask any questions to, I could speak to, bar Epilepsy Ireland. You know, it was a case of it was kept between the people that I hung around with, and I didn't really know who else to speak to, and it was a case then of, we found a way to Epilepsy Ireland. Epilepsy Ireland, same there, they've been alongside my mother when I went for surgery and stuff as well. And like, to be honest with you, if people will be quiet. Like, to be honest, I'm a very quiet person. I keep myself to myself until I'm then comfortable. Then I'll be open, and it's, Wayne, will you stop talking, please? But again, like,
that happened after 20 seconds when we met this morning. It was very quick. I know what you're saying, but you know, it happened very quickly this morning. Sorry, go on, Karen. Sorry.
Like, it's a case of, if you're not confident in asking yourself, or kind of saying it yourself, speak to the people that you're close to, because first of all, like I said, nobody I hung around with had ever experienced anybody ever having a seizure. So I then had to essentially guide all of my friends and family, okay, I now have epilepsy, this is what you're going to have to do, you know. And fair play to the lads that I hang around with today. No one has gone by me. They're all there. They'll do what they can alongside things as well. And it isn't just a case of the people with epilepsy having to spread the word of the awareness, because if somebody is having a seizure, they need somebody that's there in the public that is going to assist them, not the person that knows how to control it while having the seizure. You know, it isn't just a case of keeping it in that, okay, it's limited, it's just the people with epilepsy that need to know this. No, it needs to be there. Like, my 5-year-old niece seen me have a seizure in the kitchen, like, you know, and she still talks about it. But she's getting to the age now where she knows what to do if she sees that happen. So, you know, those things will happen. And like I said, it's the people outside of epilepsy that do need the education on that side of things as well, you know. It's not just the people that have the seizures.
And I think that is a perfect way to finish, because that's why campaigns like this are so important, and spreading the word in this way is such an important way to do it as well. Before we take a little break for coffee, I'd like you to please put your hands together for our 3 wonderful volunteers, for Lucy, for Lisa, and for Wayne.